Welcome to Ghost Files, where the shadows speak and mysteries come alive. If you love chilling stories, haunted places, and the unexplained, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on the darkest tales from around the world. Let's dive into today's haunting. The Lockdown Nightmare of Springwood High. It was supposed to be a normal Friday morning at Springwood High School, with students chatting and laughing in the hallways. But then the principal's voice came over the intercom, his words sending a chill through every classroom. Attention, students and faculty. We have a situation. There is a potential threat on campus, and we are going into immediate lockdown. Please follow all procedures and stay safe. At first, everyone thought it was a drill. But as the minutes ticked by, the reality set in. The school was in lockdown, and no one knew what was happening outside those locked doors. In room 204, a group of friends huddled together, their phones buzzing with frantic texts from parents and friends. "What's going on?" someone whispered. "Is it a shooter?" The teacher, Mrs. Johnson, tried to reassure them, but her voice trembled. "We'll be okay. Just stay calm and quiet." As the hours dragged on, the students grew restless and scared. Some tried to distract themselves with books or games on their phones, while others paced back and forth, searching for any sign of what was happening. Then, the fire alarm blared to life. The lights flickered, and the sound of sirens echoed through the corridors. The students exchanged terrified glances. "What's happening?" someone screamed. Mrs. Johnson's face was white. "I don't know. Stay down, everyone." The room shook with the sound of explosions and gunfire. The students cowered, praying it would end soon. But the lockdown dragged on, with no end in sight. The students were trapped, unsure if they'd make it out alive. As night fell, the school remained in lockdown. The students huddled together, their hearts racing with every creak and groan of the old building. Would they survive the night? Only time would tell. The darkness outside seemed to press in, making the fluorescent lights overhead seem feeble. The silence was oppressive, punctuated only by the occasional muffled sound from outside. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the lockdown was over. The principal's voice came over the intercom once more. "The threat has been neutralized. Students and faculty, please follow the instructions of the emergency responders." As the doors opened and the students spilled out into the night, they were met with the sight of ambulances and police cars. Some were crying, others were shaken, but they were alive. The nightmare of Springwood High was over, but the memories would linger forever. The shadow in the hallway. Lincoln High School was known for its sprawling campus and labyrinthine corridors. At night, when the classrooms were empty, the hallways seemed to stretch on forever, shadows cast by flickering fluorescent lights. Rumors swirled about strange occurrences, lockers slamming shut on their own, ghostly apparitions in the mirrors, and disembodied whispers in the dead of night. A group of friends, all seniors, decided to investigate. They gathered in the main hallway, cameras and flashlights at the ready. "Let's split up," one of them suggested. "Cover more ground." The others hesitated, but the thrill of adventure won out. They dispersed, each heading down a different corridor. As they explored, strange noises echoed through the halls. Creaks, groans, and faint footsteps. Some laughed it off as the old building settling, but others felt a chill run down their spine. One of the friends, Emily, stumbled upon an old classroom. The door was slightly ajar, inviting her in. She pushed it open, and a musty smell wafted out. Inside, she found old yearbooks, dusty desks, and a single chair pushed back from the table. It looked like the occupant had just stepped out. Suddenly, Emily felt a presence behind her. She spun around, but there was no one there. The door slammed shut, plunging her into darkness. Her friends found her curled up on the floor, shaking. "Let's get out of here," she whispered. As they fled the classroom, they heard whispers in the hallway, a soft voice repeating a single phrase. "You shouldn't be here." They didn't need to be told twice. They sprinted out of the school, not stopping until they were blocks away, gasping for breath. The shadow in the hallway remained, waiting for its next visitor. Some say on certain nights, when the moon is full, you can still hear those whispers, echoing through the empty corridors of Lincoln High. The last period of spring. It was the final week of school, and the students of Oakwood High were counting down the hours until summer break. But for one class, the last period of the day would be unlike any other. The students in Mr. Jenkins's history class had always been a bit restless, but today they were practically bouncing with excitement. As the bell rang, signaling the start of the final period, they cheered. Mr. Jenkins smiled wryly. All right, let's get this over with. Today we're going to review for the final exam." But as he began to speak, the classroom started to warp and distort. The walls seemed to melt away, revealing a lush green meadow filled with wildflowers. The students gasped, confused. "What's going on?" someone asked. Mr. Jenkins's expression changed, his eyes twinkling. "You see, this is the last period of spring, a time when the world is full of possibility and anything seems achievable." As the class watched, the meadow transformed into a series of vignettes. Students laughing with friends, others acing exams, and some sharing their first kisses. The students realized they were seeing glimpses of their own futures. Some were joyful, others bittersweet. When the bell rang, signaling the end of the period, the classroom snapped back to reality. Mr. Jenkins smiled, his eyes gleaming. "You've all grown up so much. Remember this feeling, this sense of possibility. It's what will carry you through the rest of your lives." As the students filed out, they felt changed, as if they'd been given a glimpse of the infinite potential that lay ahead. The last period of spring had left its mark, a reminder of the beauty and promise that awaited them. The Forgotten Locker. At Riverside High, students often joked about the old, creaky lockers. But one locker, number 217, was particularly notorious. It was said that anyone who opened it would be haunted by strange occurrences. Freshman year, Emily's locker was 217. She dismissed the rumors, but as she approached her locker, she felt unease. The combination lock clicked open, revealing a musty smell and dusty interior. Among the cobwebs, a single piece of paper caught her eye, a note that read, "Remember me?" Emily shrugged it off, thinking it was a prank. But strange things began to happen. Books would fall off her shelf, and she'd hear whispers in the hallway. One night, Emily researched locker 217's history. She discovered a girl named Sarah had used it decades ago. Sarah had died in a tragic accident, and her belongings were left untouched. Emily felt a chill. Was the locker haunted by Sarah's spirit? She decided to investigate further. In the school's basement, Emily found an old trunk labeled Locker 217. Inside, she discovered Sarah's diary. As Emily read the diary, she understood Sarah's story. The note in the locker was a plea for connection, a desire to be remembered. Emily decided to honor Sarah's memory. She left flowers in the locker and shared Sarah's story with her friends. From that day on, the strange occurrences stopped. Locker 217 was no longer haunted, but a symbol of remembrance and friendship. The story of Sarah and Emily spread, reminding students of the power of kindness and memory. And Locker 217 became a symbol of connection rather than fear. The voice in the auditorium. The auditorium of Oakdale High School was a grand, old-fashioned space with a stage that seemed to whisper secrets to those who stepped onto it. It was here that the school's drama club would gather to rehearse their productions. And it was here that a legend was born. The story went that if you stood alone on the stage at midnight, you'd hear the voice of a former drama teacher, Mrs. Thompson, who had mysteriously disappeared decades ago. She'd offer you a role in her eternal play, and if you accepted, you'd be forever changed. A group of curious students decided to test the legend. They snuck into the auditorium at midnight, their flashlights casting eerie shadows on the walls. As they stepped onto the stage, the lights flickered, and a low hum filled the air. Suddenly, a soft, melodious voice spoke from the darkness. "Welcome, players. I've been waiting." The students exchanged nervous glances. Was this really Mrs. Thompson's ghost? The voice continued. "I have a play to perform, and I need your talent. Will you join me?" One by one, the students felt an inexplicable pull, as if the voice was calling to something deep within them. They began to recite lines, act out scenes, and dance across the stage. As the night wore on, they became lost in the performance, their movements fluid and natural. When the first light of dawn crept into the auditorium, the students stopped, bewildered. Had they really been possessed by the spirit of the stage, or was it just their imagination? Whatever the truth, they knew they'd been forever changed by the voice in the auditorium. From that day on, the drama club's productions were infused with a magic that captivated audiences. And some say that on certain nights, when the stage is empty, you can still hear Mrs. Thompson's voice, guiding the actors and weaving her spell.